Well, welcome, guys. Welcome to the Table Talk Radio Show. My name is Tanisha Simpkins, and I'm so delighted that you guys have joined us here on Facebook Live and also YouTube Live. So, if you have any questions or comments, just make sure to enter them. We'll do our best as to posting them and answering them as well. Today is June the 29th. I started saying God bless America, so God bless America. Um, it's an exciting week to me. I don't know why, maybe because I had a lot of clients this week. You know that's like ching ching. But at the same time, it's been a rough week when it comes to. I know every week we keep talking about COVID-19, but we're here in South Florida. All of us are here in South Florida, so it's almost getting a little scary. And on last week, it was Thursday or Friday. I did go take the test. I just voluntarily went and I took the test, and I took it because I felt like it was my responsibility. I know that some people do it when they feel like they're sick or coughing. I just went. I told. I said, asked the question. I said, I don't know if someone have been around me with COVID or not, but I just want to go ahead and take the test. But the downfall part of it is that I'm thinking that you would know within 24 hours. However, it's been 3 days now. So now I'm upset with the biochemistry people that's out of Miami who's doing it. They're taking too long because one of the things that Governor DeSantis did say in his, meet the press was that the number rose because of the backlog, and I was surprised he even said that. So that meant to me that we were never ready. Did you guys happen to see that?
Yikes.
I, I heard him say that.
Yeah, I saw
Yeah,
it.
I'm like, so that meant that we were never ready to come out. But I just hope that everybody be responsible for themselves and getting tested. I'm saying that out to everyone, not here in the state of Florida, but just consider it to be safe. Because I'm like this. I'm single. Yeah, I'm married, and I'm like, what if I meet somebody? We like a wall, of we can't touch or anything like that. So it's just like know your status. So to me right now, being it's like know your status. I don't know. I might be wrong, but I think I'm right. I think so.
I thought no
So we
touching for
do
married
have
couple.
say what?
Oh, that was a joke. Don't worry about it. I said I thought the no touching
Okay.
was for married people.
Maybe in y'all house, but
Uh,
But listen, so we have a guest today, guys. We have a wonderful guest, Javen, like Raven, right? Javen, Pastor Javen, author Javen, singer, host TBN. I want to say actor. Have you done some acting? Just all around guy here who has a beautiful spirit here in the South Florida area. Um, but go ahead, Teresa. Give us some information about Pastor Javen.
Sure, sure. So let me share a quick bit. So Javen is a musician, songwriter, singer, actor, pastor, speaker, author, and TV host. I bet y'all can't say that 3 times fast. He has built, excuse me, I'm sorry, my screen went away. Okay, here we go. He has built his music career on a foundation of integrity and faith, which has earned him critical praise and audience approval. He is the 12th of 13 children raised in Hollywood, Florida, a South Florida native, and family is quite important to him. He starred in numerous stage plays as well as had supporting roles in feature films. And in 2013, Javen founded Worship in the Now Ministries Incorporated, which later produced the Now Church. He hosts a monthly showcase called The Encounter for local artists. Javen was presented with a Lifetime Achievement Award from the White House and President Barack Obama for his humanitarian efforts in the community. And his TV show, Now Living with Javen, was launched in 2017. Along with his numerous accomplishments and efforts within ministry and television, Javen has written a book called Do It Now. let's welcome our special guest, pastor, author extraordinaire, JAVEN.
Yay! How are you?
A virtual round of applause.
Yay!
I'm doing good, guys. I'm glad to be here with y'all.
So,
I'm looking forward to table talk with everybody. It's a challenging time, obviously, for all of us, and it's just really amazing to see the human spirit and to folks that really are having to grab a hold of faith like never before. So I'm really glad to have this opportunity to be here with you all, and I pray that you are safe. I pray that you're hanging in there. We're all putting on a brave face, but it's a very challenging time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
So tell us about.
So the question is, go ahead. Sorry.
No problem. So tell us about doing it in the now. What is it? When is now? Talk to us a little bit more about your recent publication.
So we're excited about Do It Now, Why Wait When Your Best Is Now is my latest book. It comes out actually July 12th, but people can get it now on Amazon. They can get it on Kindle, Barnes & Noble, wherever books are sold. Extremely excited about this book. It took me 5 years to write, but it's really a lifetime of ups and downs, failures, and some successes. And it really cultivates the revelation that I got about now, which really cultivated itself back in 2011 when I did a live recording called Worship in the Now, which then launched the Worship in the Now Ministries, which later became the Now Church, Now TV, Now Living TV show, etc. But the book is really all about understanding the power of your now. I'm not going to say most, but a lot of us don't have the best of childhoods. Many of us are brought up in single home parent homes. Some of us have experienced childhood abuse in some form or fashion, broken hearts, economical strife, the whole 9 yards. I certainly wasn't exempt from that. And I realized that when you don't have the past you can pull on and you are very uncertain about the future, then your best shot is in your now. And I also come to understand that now is something that you'll always be a part of. You won't always be a part of your past. You're not guaranteed your future. But I promise you, what you do have is your now. And if you don't learn how to seize that moment, if you don't learn how to maximize that, if you don't learn how to even understand why you're in your now, it becomes a real challenge. So I've done my best to put together in about 20-something chapters what I believe will help, leaders, pastors, young people, single parents, entrepreneurs, and just the average person in that of how to take advantage of each of your situations and do the best you can. I went a little long, but that's the best way I can kind of sum it all up.
Pastor, as you were talking, I picked up in my spirit when you said the moment and be not weary in well doing, because in due season you will reap if you faint not. There's a lot of fatigue and frustration in the moment. Could you talk about how you can handle that? We're doing something now to see a harvest in the future, but it's a lot of minutia. I'm sure you know there's a lot of just, hey, am I going to reap this harvest? And so could you talk a little bit about that? I don't know if you talk about it in your book, but could you talk a little bit about that for those that may be wrestling with what they're doing now?
I think it's a great question, Pastor A. One of the things I do talk about, there's a chapter in the book called Understanding Your Beginnings. And in that chapter, I make the argument that you are not to fix your beginnings. You're not to try to undo your beginnings, but just take time to understand them, so that when you understand where you've come from and you understand what you've been through, it can help you deal with what you're currently facing. And I think one of the things that we all need to do right now is take a step. And if you've never, we've been in quarantine, so you got more than enough time to do your homework. But I think if all of us would begin to take a dive into history a little bit, world history, American history, culture history, we'll realize that what we're dealing with is no different, no more challenging, no more scarier than our forefathers, than our grandparents, than our grandmothers. And I think sometimes we feel like we are the only ones. We feel like we are victims in some type of way. But, we have people in our bloodline that dealt with full blown slavery, they dealt with full blown oppression. You have people that went through the Great Depression and people that went through so many other great calamities, World War I, World War II, and you can go on down the list. So, I'm not making light of what we're facing and what we're dealing with. But what I am saying is if you understand God and if you understand faith and if you understand the economy and history, you will then understand that we have actually been here before. We've actually been here before in a different way, in a different form. It might have been called Ebola. It might have been called something else, Y2K. I mean, you can go on down the list, but we have been here before as a human race, and God was faithful then, he'll be faithful now.
Wow.
Pastor Javen, can you talk about a chaotic now, unsteady now, a not so sure now? Last week on Table Talk Radio, we mentioned not overthinking it and not preparing ourselves so much that we miss the mark because we aren't ready yet, and we aren't ready yet, and we aren't ready yet. But the statement "do it now" is so timely, especially in a time where people are saying, let's go back to 2019. Let's just start 2020 over. It's a joke and we all laugh, and we maybe even shared some on our social media. But how can we really encourage the people that you can still do it now in a chaotic 2020? You can do it now during a pandemic, during protests. Can you talk to that?
Thanks, Dr. Lee. I think it's a great question. To be honest with you, I think that your best work is in chaos. I think your best, when you're going to talk about do it now, in the book, I talk about taking advantage of your now moment, right? And I think that's the problem. I think what we do is we say, I'm going to do it when things get better, right? I'm going to act right when the money is there. I'm going to act right when the crowd is there. There's somebody got a social media platform right now, and they're saying, I'm going to stop making my presentation ghetto. I'm going to make it real nice once I get X amount of followers, right? That we all kind of in the back of our head that there's a church right now. Somebody's saying, oh, we could just throw the program together. We ain't got to do run sheets. We ain't got to schedule it out. We ain't got to have, you see, everybody's always thinking when it's going to be better, when it's going to get better, then that's when I will do it. But the reality is, your best opportunity is when you have when you have absolute chaos and cosmos, because it's in the stretching, it's in the process, it's in the pressing where the anointing flows. That's where the perfection flows. And so what I would say to everybody that's a part of the show today, that's watching us and listening to us and what we're dealing with, I want you to know great men become great because they learn how to face great challenges. And that if you don't face this challenge, if you don't man up, if you don't woman up, if you don't stop acting like a victim when God has made you a victor and realize that this is your opportunity to be Rosa Parks. This is your opportunity to be Dr. Martin Luther. You don't need Martin Luther King. You're the Martin Luther King today. You don't need Rosa Parks. You're the Rosa Parks today. You're the Joshua today. See, you have the opportunity in this chaos to realize, number one of the things I talk about in the book is quieting the noise. A lot of what we're dealing with is just all the noise. One of the things that this generation is faced with that former generations didn't have to do with is a lot of noise, right? They come at you left and right from Instagram, from Snapchat, from Twitter. They come at you from Facebook. They want to brag about their anniversaries and their marriages, right? You don't care about their marriage, but they want to tell you about it. 20, 30 years we've been together. You over there struggling, just had a divorce, can't hardly hold on to what you got. And here they come bragging with their big cars and, the promotions and they 3 little kids and a dog. Now, they done fussed and cussed before they took that picture, but then they take that picture and then they want to throw it in your face. And so these kids are forced. You're forced with trying to keep up with other people. And so you have all this noise that's constantly making you feel like you're not doing it. But I will challenge every viewer tonight to first accept the fact and the truth that your best moment is right now. I don't care if you got $1. I don't care if you by yourself. I don't care if they talked about you, lied on you, and plotted against you. The fact that you're still here, the fact that you are still believing, the fact that you still have a breath in your body, two lungs to breathe, that's opportunity enough for you to be able to have the energy that you need, I believe, to continue to go forth no matter what the circumstance is. And here's what happens. When you begin to do that, you begin to create a new history. You began to recreate. That's why I say you ain't got to go back to the past. All you got to do is start now. And when you start now, it began to give you a whole new history, a whole new past. And then something beautiful happens. It projects you or pushes you forward into an incredible future. Because if you can make resources happen, I think it was Tanisha that said earlier, she's making money now. When other people are struggling, things are happening for her. You see, if you can make money in this chaos, oh my God, you'll be able to take care of millions when things really start booming.
One of the things that I think hinders folk from taking advantage of their now is how much we desire to justify ourselves. Folk want to make a big name for themselves. We want to be the greatest version of ourselves. We want to just be just the greatest. And I think what happens is so often the more we want to be perfect or reach this standard of whoever said whatever, the more we'll limit ourselves and put the brakes on taking advantage and leveraging the now. I think it's so good that for the believer, we believe and profess that we've already been justified, that we're not justified by what we do, that we're not justified by what we haven't done or whatever status we currently have, but that we've been justified in the past by Christ on the cross, where he took our place as sinners on the cross and rose on the third day. Scripture says that he has become our justification and our justifier. So now I don't need to prove myself. Now I don't need to be as great as whatever you say is great. I can be who I am to the glory of God and for the good of neighbor right now, doing what I can with integrity and skillfulness of hands, because I'm not looking for nobody's approval. I'm justified. Therefore, I can take a hold of my now without fear, with no reason to be ashamed, because I already am a child of God. He's already written my name in the Lamb's Book of Life, and I am perfectly accepted right now at the level I'm at with the skills that I currently have. I'm justified, I'm accepted, and I'm loved. Javen, if you would, Pastor Javen, won't you please speak to, again, this hesitancy that we sometimes have of leveraging on now because of a desire to justify ourselves?
Thanks, Pastor.
And not only that, hold up, David. Not only that, but a desire like I was saying last week on a question that we had. I'm one of those perfectly flawed persons, right? Like it's perfect, but I still see flaw in it. So I'm like holding on to it, like I'm holding on to this phone. I'm like holding, like, wait, hold up, wait a minute. Let me look again. Let me dot this T again. No, let me go back again. That's me. I will not let go sometimes, most times. And like I'm looking for something now in particular, but I'm like, no. And my friend's like, that's the best place. I'm like, no, I it's perfect, but I still see that flaw. I know that it's perfect, or I've done it to, I feel like, perfection, but it's like there's something else that I gotta do in it, help people like me, who just won't let go.
Hey, listen, I think, first off, Pastor David, that's a great question. And then I think what you just pivot to is crucial, right? Because one of the things that's key in the revelation of now that I write about in the book and that I really preach about and talk about all the time, that's why everything for me is now, is the importance of enjoying your current situation, whatever it is. I think it's a tragedy that we make it sometimes to a level of success and we have not enjoyed any of it. And that's a I don't care what y'all say. All of us are guilty of that.
Yeah.
All of us have certain levels, like Pastor David said, or all of us have certain levels of justification, of success, whatever that may be. But many times we have lost the art of realizing when we were in the moment, and learning how to enjoy that moment, learning how to appreciate that moment, and learning how to embrace that moment. When Dr. Lee was reading off my bio, right, and she started talking about the accomplishments here and the movies and the music and all that kind of stuff. And when you hear that, you kind of two things happen for me. Is you go, wow. First off, I go, I don't know who the heck she's talking about. That's the first thing. Second thing that happens is you kind of go, okay, yeah, I've done a little bit of things. You kind of forget, like, okay, I've done a little bit of things. But here's the third thing that happens, and here's why I think it speaks to more of what y'all are talking about. I did not realize it at the time, all that stuff she just read. When I was, and I talk about this in the book, one of the things that I had to do, I didn't have to do, one of the things that I did was a strategic thing. I left my then job of about 10 years. I sold my, it was a three and a half bedroom, it was a 3-bedroom home, corner lot, a gated community, whole 9 yards. I was at that time, I had a little BMW, a little Land Rover. It was a decent life, pretty decent life. I left all of that. And that's when I transitioned over to California. I won't take up time to talk about it, but I write about it in the book. But I did one of what many of y'all would call the stupidest things you could have ever, like, what in the world is wrong with you? At this time, I'm about 30 years old. I mean, life is going good. There's no reason to make such a transition. But I knew that God had more. Okay? What I didn't do was I didn't allow the more to frustrate me. I allowed the more to motivate me. And so that's what I want to encourage you, Tanisha, to do. I don't want you to let your flaws frustrate you. I want you to let your flaws motivate you. In other words, you're doing good, baby. You killing it. You rocking it out. You got all of us on your platform. See, we're not on my platform. We're on your platform. So you're doing it. So first off, enjoy where you're at. Joyce Meyer says it best like this. She says, enjoy where you're at on the way to where you're going. So be at peace with what you got going on, but be motivated by your flaws. Don't criticize your flaws. Be motivated by them to just say, hey, listen, let's keep on growing the church. Let's keep on growing our reach. Let's keep on articulating our messages. Even as a pastor, man, the idea that you just go, this how I preach and that's just how it is and I ain't going to change, that's crazy. We're getting older. The congregation hopefully is getting younger. You're going to have to flip some things up in order to reach, other people. Hopefully your congregation is starting to get mixed up with cultures and race. Here again, you got to mix it up. You got to keep whatever those flaws are, you got to keep going. And one of the things I did want to say back to Pastor David's point is this idea that no matter what the circumstance is or no matter what the situation is, I think it's so crucial. I think it's so important that you never worry about. One of the things I talk about in the book is comparisons. If you ever make comparisons, I'm telling you, you are defeated before you got started. You will never be happy. You will never be satisfied because there's always somebody that's better than you. And there's always somebody that's worse than you.
Pastor, I talked about it last week. I'm in the middle of kind of concluding a series entitled "Don't Miss the Moment."
Yeah.
And maybe I want to ask you this question so you can help me finish it. But talk about the tragedy of missing a moment. Maybe from your own personal experience or just, I really do believe that for a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of, people that want striving to start businesses and grow their business, that this is a moment that we must capitalize on. Pastors who maybe felt like they didn't have a large church, but now we have an audience of millions. Talk about a tragedy of missing this moment, the tragedy of missing it now as we go back to your book.
So when you bring that question up, I think of several stories I can go to. I'm trying to pick one in my head, which one I want to pick. All of it is in the book, but there's one story. I went to a predominantly white Christian school in the mountains of Tennessee. Now I grew up down here in colorful, mixed New York of the South Florida. I ended up going to Tennessee in the mountains, predominantly white. I was heard singing somewhere. Long story short, I ended up in this professional, what you call CCM Christian group. That's Christian contemporary music. That's code for white Christian music, right? In that group, I ended up having to sing at all these different places, predominantly, as you can imagine, white churches, this, that, and the other. And one of the experiences I had was we had to drive all the way up. It was a tour bus. It was full on tour, band, whole 9 yards. One of the experiences I had, we got all the way to the top of the mountain. It was raining. It was pouring. It was storming. It was almost dangerous, so to speak, to be driving up there in that big tour bus. We got all the way up there. We set up all the equipment. When we got there, it was just that pastor, his wife, and his 2 kids. He had rented out this huge auditorium, hundreds. Nobody was there, possibly because of the weather, whatever the case may be. I looked at the other guys that were in the band. I said, well, I guess we're going back to the hotel. We're going to be good. My director said to me at that point, Dr. Danny Murray, still a good mentor of mine today. He said, boys, go out there and get the equipment. Let's set up. Huh? Let's set up. We set up that entire stage. There's a singer by the name of Judy Jacobs. She's kind of known in the Christian community. She was in that group at that time. There's a huge country group called Rascal Flatts. Jay DeMarcus, if you follow country music, he was in the group at that. You're talking, and this is how, and I can tell you a whole list of others that have come through that group. But people don't understand that greatness comes from moments like this. I remember Judy was to sing first. And when she went to sing, I thought she was just going to kind of, halfway sing because nobody was there. She went out swinging, buddy. She went out slapping everything that you could slap. You would have thought 10,000 people was in that room. The next person went out singing. They knocked over mountains and was singing and spitting and carrying on and whatnot. I was the third person to go. I was only about 18 years old at the time. But I saw these people and I saw what they did. So I said, well, I guess this is what you're supposed to do when you're in a now moment. Seize the moment. I grabbed the mic. I went for broke. We sung and just did a full-blown concert. That man put his hands in his face. He bawled like a baby. I don't know whatever happened to him or his church, but here's what I can tell you that happened to me. It was a life-changing moment for me. I came to understand that every moment that you have, you better seize it, because sometimes, you know what, Pastor A, it's telling a bigger story. Sometimes it's not even for what you're dealing with. Sometimes what you're doing in your now moment is not for your now. It is for your later, but you got to do it now. And that's why it's so important for us to seize every moment that God gives to us, because it is the only moment that is promised to us. And that's why the scripture says, and I feel like I'm preaching a little bit, but that's why the scripture says that now faith is. In other words, faith can only be in your now. So if you don't seize it in your now, you don't even have it.
My God, the only thing I hate about what you just said is I got 2 members I know are watching. But it was perfect. It was perfect. I only said that because
absolutely. Well, actually, what he said kind of rose into our next guest. And Kitty, I hope you was listening to that, because that was something that I had told you earlier. I said that the opportunity is basically now. So I want to welcome Kitty, if I'm pronouncing your last name, London.
Yes, you can hear me, right?
Oh, I can hear you now. Yeah, Kitty London. So Kitty London is a blogger, social influencer. She has this big group on Facebook, thousands of women. She's also a singer. She's a mom of 2 Black sons. So Kitty did a video with a song, and it's called "Now I Can Breathe." Right now, now I can breathe. But it caught the attention of MSNBC, and they played it on last night, and they gave her an interview, which is wonderful, because whatever we do, we want that recognition. And Kitty, I just want just some information from you to tell us what made you decide to actually do the video, and why is it so important when it comes to our Black sons?
Well, as the nation watched George Floyd, and we pretty much all felt the pain coming from him when he said, he called out for his mom and he said that he couldn't breathe. And as a mother of two Black sons, I put myself in that predicament to say that that could be my children, because it doesn't matter at the end of the day how much schooling they have, degrees, how great they are. When they leave the house, they're Black men. And how will the world perceive them as being Black men? So as an artist, I use music as therapy. And when I used the music as therapy, the song came about. And it's called Now I Can't Breathe, because how he was screaming out saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. As a mother, when your children are suffering, you're suffering as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that all of our men here have sons, and by even watching during that time with the George Floyd, and so many other things have happened, even with the young man who has, I can't think of his name right now, who has a disability. Because I thought about my grandson, he has autism. As he gets older and becomes independent, what type of covering. I want to ask the men here, Kitty. Let me ask them this question: do you think that us brown and Black women are too mother bears, too much of a mother bear over our sons?
I'll tell you what,
I'm just
Tanisha.
hearing that question, Pastor A. David and Javen. Are we just too mother bears when it comes to our son, giving them their independence?
I'll tell you what, Tanisha. As a man who lost a mother, or my mother, at a very early age, and who has had to live a life devoid of the nurture, affection, and care of a mother. I don't think you could ever nurture your child, your boy, your son enough. I don't think you could ever give him enough care and affection. There's something that, and you guys have heard of the studies or what have you. There's something that a mother's nurturing, affection, and closeness does for a child that helps its development, both mentally and even bodily. And so, no, you can't do enough. I don't think the problems we see in society today come from children being, or sons being nurtured too much and cared for too much by our children. I think some of what we see is actually the absence of some of the nurture and care of our young men, because we've gotten so busy, etc., in our lives. And so, my encouragement would be to any mother: go ahead and smother that child of yours. Give them all the hugs, all the affection, all the nurture, and all the care. And listen, he might not make some of the mistakes that I've made. So even as a father, my wife, she loves our kid, our son, and all that kind of stuff. But as a father, man, I can't tell. I mean, listen, my God, that's my young man, and he's gonna get all the kisses, all the hugs from both mommy and daddy, because I realize his power and closeness.
Mm, 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 mm. David, Pastor A, you want to add to it shortly?
Now I feel like he nailed it.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely nailed it.
So, go ahead. So,
Tanisha.
Kitty, now when you did the video, and when you made the song, because it's Now I Can Breathe. Is it Now I Can Breathe? What is the now? We just got through talking with Javen as far as his now in his book. But what is the now in your song? Now, like now, what is the now coming from? Now I can breathe. Because to me, it's like, okay, now I can breathe. Go ahead.
So it's actually is can't. So it's still the CANT on there. So basically,
Oh,
I'm
now.
replacing. Yes, now I can't, because when they can't breathe,
Oh,
I can now. Yeah, now I can't breathe, because as a
okay.
mother, and I'm sure the fathers. I don't like to take anything away from them, because I'm sure they love their children like us. But there's something about a mother's love. When that child is sick, they go to their moms, and you know how that is, right? So when my children were sick, I was sick. So when someone can't breathe, my sons can't breathe, now I can't breathe. So in the song, I basically reference to no justice, no peace. We're not going to leave you until you can breathe. So it pretty much is a mother's love to their kids, letting the world know that, hey, we love our sons, we are going to protect our sons. And it's a shame that we have to, fear for their lives when they are going out just to borrow a car. If they get stopped, do they know how to get arrested, or do they know how to pull over? Because there is those simple stops that we hear and they end up in tragedy. And that's a realistic fear that we have. And I can only talk about being a Black mother because that's what I have experienced with two sons that are 25 and 17. And right now they're America's targets. And that's a scary reality for Black men right now.
You said something important. You said something. You said they are America's target. Are we? Because we always hear that saying sometimes that we are the hunt, and I don't like that, because especially for those of us sometimes who are around diverse, and sometimes we don't. We tend to not think that that may not be the case. I have 3 brown and Black men here now. That may not be the case, but in the society that we're in right now, in the very space that we're in, with all of the some of the racism, a bunch of Karens, and all things that are coming out, do we believe, or, well, I know you, Kitty, because you just said it, are we the hunt? Do you think that we are the hunt? I know we were in the 60s, but do we believe now, because we have cases that happen, but of course they would be, if we go by percentage wise, of some of the things, and Dr. Lee, I see your expression, by the things that are happening right now by percentage wise. But do we believe that as men, brown and Black men, that you guys are the hunt right now? And it's just a short, brief question. Do you believe you guys are the hunt right now? Just asking.
Whenever questions like that come up, I have to I try to take myself out of it because I recognize I am a Black man of slight privilege. And I'm sure all pastors can agree with this, that there's not. I'll give an example. Recently, I got, about a couple of months ago, got pulled over. I didn't realize that my tag decal had expired, and the church, the tag came back in the church's name. And so when the police officer approached me, he kind of knew, I guess, based on the car or whatever, he kind of knew I was a pastor. And I can tell that he kind of treated me a little differently because of that. And so I say that oftentimes we have to understand that, when you have slight privilege, just like white privilege, you have to understand that and not always lump yourself in that. So there are several times I've had encounters with police and I haven't had any issues. And that's because, maybe who I am or whatever case may be. But I will say that there is definitely a bias there. In most cases, there's a bias. Now, when people don't recognize and don't know who I am when we go places, of course, it's there. I don't necessarily label it as a target or a hunt, but it's definitely a bias there. And that, that's just how I feel about it. Maybe David may feel differently.
So let me ask you a question, Kitty.
I just want to know why he said David might feel different and not Javen.
So, Kitty, let me ask you this question, because we do have, our church here. It is a platform, Christian minded. Was there ever a time, like in the raising of your sons, did you feel like that you didn't have a mentor or any men from the church? Because I have a 30-year-old, and there was a point where I just felt like I didn't know what to do. I was like, oh God. So I was just asking, certain men in my church, can you call him? Can you talk to him? Because I felt like I couldn't relate to him at the age that he was. Maybe they can help him. But I'm going to be honest with you, it kind of felt me, the people did fail me, and I'm like, okay, I've been knowing these people all my life. But do you feel like when raising your sons, because they're different in age, that you have gotten support as far as a mentorship for your son, or has it been lacking?
As far as a male
I can't
mentorship, I
hear
mean,
you. Okay.
I'm here muffled. Am I sounding
I
okay?
can't hear you.
Okay. As far as my older son, he pretty much grew up. I mean, I was more of a single parent with him. I am married now, but there are trust issues when it comes to, unfortunately, and we'll be frank with this, and because I'm real and transparent. When it comes to the male mentorship, you have to be real careful now. My mom, who has been a social worker, she's a retired social worker. I'm not sure if that's because she instilled in me a lot of, you can't trust everybody around your children. Because these some of the men scared this, but I've always been protective over my boys, because a lot of times when they are males, a lot of the moms tend to let them just do what they do because they feel like, oh, they have to be men, you can't shelter them. Unfortunately, they are honor students. My son's in college, he graduates next year. My other son's a senior, and he's an honor roll student as well too. And thankfully, they've never been in trouble as far as jail, or they don't have any kids. I'm not a grandmother yet. So I'm kind of going with Pastor A with, they're not the typical Black children that have been stereotyped or been, in trouble, how people say is stereotypical or whatever. They're not. But I'm not going to sit up here and say it doesn't happen. And I won't say that they can't be, as quote as quote, targeted to go outside if they have a hoodie on and somebody's not clenching their purse, or they think they're going to be, robbed because of the color of their skin. But to answer your question, I have not had a lot of male help, but I have had some. But I'm very particular about the males who are around my children, because you have to be careful with that as well too. Because I've known cases where people have gotten molested, and I've always just been real protective with my boys.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just a parent, that's just any parent, when it comes to either of our boys or our girls, when it comes to that. I just wanted to shift a little gear a little bit, because Table Talk is a show where we talk about different hot topics and things of sort. And just, anyone can add to the conversation. We probably have about 15 minutes can add to the conversation of some of the things that have been going on. Now, one thing I do want to ask the churches, okay, y'all churches, with 3 pastors, as a matter of fact, and we all, some of us go to church. The churches, most of them were planning to open fully in July. Considering here in South Florida, the numbers that we see, sometimes we believe them, sometimes we don't. Do we think it's a good idea or suggestive idea that we should wait until the beginning of the year to have a full service?
The beginning of the year. You just
don't have to have once. Come on now. Come on.
You put a date on it. Well, we were one of the churches. I'll speak for ourselves. We were one of the churches that were scheduled to go back July 5th. I met with our congregation last week because I try to have a good pulse of my membership, and so we agreed to push it back. We're looking at, I think we're looking at a definite target date of August 2nd, which is the first Sunday in July, August. To say next year, man, I don't know if that's doable for the pastor or the people, based upon the energy that it takes. July is my Sabbath month. Usually, we take a vacation every July, and so I take usually the entire July off because of what has happened between January and June. But between March and June, I've worked more. I've done a year's worth of work already. and so to continue to do it at that level and at that pace, I don't know if that's doable for the pastor or the people. But Pastor Jay, I'll let you I'll let you tend that. But yeah, January January is ooh, that's a stretch.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with Pastor A without question. I don't think we can afford to wait much longer. To be honest with you, same thing like Pastor A said, we were planning on going back in July, like a lot of churches were. But looking at the stats and the numbers, and especially specifically in South Florida, what's been going on, we too made the decision to push it back to at least August. The pastors that I've spoken to across the country and in different states and regions and whatnot that have had the opportunity to go back, they have taken the precautionary steps to roll out a plan in opening their doors back, which of course we all are doing that. And I think it's the responsible thing to do. But I think that what's interesting is that, you know, Walmart and Target and Ross and everybody else is open and people are going in there. I dare I say, I think if the church is being responsible and how they roll out and open their doors, I think without question, um, uh, we should definitely open our doors and let people come back in and have a place of worship. But I cannot amen what Pastor A has said enough. You're talking about triple duty over these past 90 days. I don't think people understand how hard pastors work when it comes to real ministry and tailoring a sermon, studying for messages, teaching series, taking on the load of all the tragedies that we've experienced over these past 90 days. You're not only talking about a pandemic with the coronavirus, but you're talking still just personal deaths and calamity, and you know, so it's not like you get an exemption from all the regular issues. You got all the regular issues, all the regular problems piled on top of COVID-19, piled on top of racial unrest, and it's been a very, very challenging time. And one of the things that I've said to all of our members, one of the things I've said to everybody that I've spoken to, rather on a national platform or a local platform, is just remember, and I want to say this to the viewers tonight, you're not in this thing alone. Because sometimes you can think, man, this is an attack on my family, or this is an attack on my finances or my body. And the reality is this is a pandemic. This is a scenario that we're all in, and that is nothing you did that, you know, made you get into this situation. I don't care who you were, whether you're rich or poor, smart or dumb. It doesn't matter. This affected you and is affecting you in some way, form, or fashion. I do want to circle back around to the racial question with our young black boys and black men. And what I do want to say about that is I don't think we really have the time to really address that issue. I'd love to actually do a whole show on that issue, because I really think that that is not a one-sided coin. That is a subject that really needs to be talked about, not just from the point of police brutality or being a target, et cetera, and all that stuff, but it really needs to be talked about in its full form of, first off, what are the real stats? You could talk about 800,000 black men being in prison, but you need to also recognize there's 1.5 million black men that are in college. So you could talk about the black family, about what's going on far as Section 8 housing and whatnot. But you got to remember that there's a much bigger demographic of working class black families in America. There's a much bigger working class, watch this, conservative, right-leaning black people more than there are what you would think would be left liberal, quote unquote, type people. So again, this is a subject that I really think that I think the conversation needs to start with black and brown people first. And we need to really go through those numbers and really talk about what's going on, and not just get hyped on the dramatic or the eccentric stuff.
Tanisha, if I could just
So, Kitty, I have a question for you. Let me ask Kitty this question here. Now that you have the platform, because you have the platform and you have the attention, and I'm sure you've gotten calls to do interviews or write-ups and papers, has it given you, we were talking earlier, a certain now to do something different or to have a greater platform? Have you thought about it? I know it's been only just, it just started happening. Have you thought about something that you would like to do as far as the platform that you're on right now?
I think that I'm kind of like moving backwards. Can you hear me? Because I sound like I was muffled. I love
We
these
can hear you.
platforms, but we have to work with them. Um, Basically, because now I have the show, the People of Power show, and I've been doing that for 3 years. And portrayed African American people very well. We always see the drama and we see the negative portrayal in the media. And I think that it was our responsibilities, especially when we do have a platform and a following, to highlight great individuals, to show them that, there are people out there who are great and they do exist. So I've been doing that for 3 years already. I think now, because I have a bigger platform and God has blessed me to get the exposure, now I can bring the show to a higher level and to expand my audience. Because that is the whole thing. I every week faithfully, I've done over maybe 300 interviews now, highlighted people that probably would have never been highlighted before, because it's not about them being in a clique. It's not about, them having money. It's about superheroes that are amongst us, and people, community leaders like yourself, who are doing great things. And it is our responsibility to highlight, to share those things. So when people share fight videos and they share negativity, they share mugshots, those people get deleted from my page, because I don't want to see that. We see enough of that already. We need to see the graduations, like he said, the home ownerships, the people who are doing and going over and beyond the community. We write our own narrative. So if we want to debunk those theories about African Americans, we have to take responsibility and say, what images are we going to put out there for the other people to see about us, and what stories are they going to know about us? So to answer your question, I'm going to just keep doing what I'm doing, but now that I have a bigger audience, I'm going to definitely keep it going. The marathon continues.
I like
Can
that.
I
The
say one
marathon
quick thing?
continues.
I don't want to overtalk nobody.
Sure.
What she just brought up is a very crucial point. For those of you that don't know, I just moved back to South Florida. I've only been here about 4 years. The church started about 6 years ago. I flew back and forth from California. I lived in LA for 15 years in that scene. I still do a lot of work with behind the scenes stuff with Hollywood. And one of the things that she brings up is another crucial point for the Black and brown community. Whatever it is we're wanting to see pushed or promoted in mainstream, we have to get behind. We cannot just show. Hollywood is not as racist as people think. Hollywood is just money driven. So they're just looking at the numbers. That's all they're looking at. They're just looking at the ratings. If the ratings are not there, if the support is not there, so if they put a movie out, a Black love story, see, if they put a movie out with a Black family just being funny and it's a comedy, a nice, wholesome movie and whatnot, and we don't go and support it, then they go, you know what, let's throw that away. Let's bring the gang banging back. Let's bring the stripping back. Let's bring the drug, all this kind of stuff. And let's keep those coming. It's not that they're trying, some people have an agenda, but more than the agenda, what pushes the mainstream media is ratings and money.
Say it louder.
Tanisha, if you would, I just wanted to highlight just for a second some of the great things that Pastor Javen, Kitty, and the rest of you have mentioned. But I do want to add a little bit of perspective. I think what we've seen with the Black and brown community beginning to thrive in education, beginning to own more property, and even become in some sense, I guess you could say, a more ethical people. I think what you're seeing there is resistance and resilience more so than equity, right? And so I think it's important to note that these things have happened, these feats have been accomplished, this progress has been made, not because we've been on the same page, but because of a God-given ability to resist and to be resilient. think one of the things that Javen just touched on is so critical to this conversation. The reality of economics in terms of where we are as a country and a people, and we know it. We know it well that economics is the driving force behind so much of what we see. And I think that that reality it doesn't diminish or undermine the reality of the complexities of the racial divide and injustices in our country, but it gives context to what's really going on, in that there is this economic disparity and this economic power that drives so much. And if we can start to think through the economics, if we could start to think through the reality of how our people have had to be so resistant and resilient, I think we can come to a place of recognizing the core sin of our people. We have a hunger, a thirst, and a desire for power that is unquenchable. And until we repent of our adulterous relationship, an idolatrous relationship with economics and with power, we won't get nowhere in these conversations. But thanks be to God that He has saw it fit to make our people a resilient and a resistant people.
Mm. He said a lot. I wanted to throw in just to kind of bridge the conversation together, because I thought Pastor Javen would be bold enough to bring it up, and he didn't, so I probably will. Going back to your question, Tanisha, and what David just brought up, the economics of this whole quarantining and going back from the church. There is a economic, thought. I guess we have to, think about that. There are a lot of churches that are not going to recover from this. They're just not. They're not going to recover from this. They're not going to be able to go back. And there are a lot of churches that when they do go back, they're not going to be the same again. People, and I think there is a pressure on the pastor to make sure that we make coming to church essential. And the longer we push it back, Walmart has branded itself to be essential. The grocery stores have branded themselves to be essential. And so you take the risk because you feel as if it's essential. I got to go to the grocery store. As pastors, while we are practicing safety, we still have to make sure that we don't get the people too comfortable.
Yes, sir.
So they don't feel like coming to church is essential, because we can't get them to the point to where they want the church to just come to them, because it doesn't really work that way. It's good for some, but it's not the way I don't think God intended. I could be missing it, but I don't think it's the way God intended. So
I think we should also
Listen,
note
Pastor A.
I think it's important that we also note that it's not just on the pastor to the side, just based on the calendar, but the people are in need of church right now in some ways more than ever. When we think of mental health, when we think of all the complexities going on, people don't know where to turn and how to think, and so they need church. And so it's up to us to think through, how do we minister to our people even in the midst of the complexities.
Yeah, but you know what? That's good. But what has happened to people like me? I don't know, Teresa Kitty, but them 45 minutes on Facebook, it's been good. It's been real good. You
until
heard what
you
I
leave
said,
the
on
church,
45 minutes on Facebook has been real good. It has given so many people to, which I don't know if it's a good thing or not. We switch up, it's like, oh, I get to hear this person, oh, I get to hear Javen on Tuesday, oh, I get to hear David. David be having a full service though, so it ain't no 45 minutes there.
Glory, glory.
Oh,
see
I get to hear this.
the
So
challenge
it's like
is going to
now people
be
have so much choices.
the challenge is when you need. See, the challenge is going to be when you need the church. Who you going to call? That's going to be the challenge. And that's where we have to hold. There's an accountability that, members don't like to talk about it, but until you've been involved in church, you have to deal with it. There is an accountability there So when you need a church, you get sick or a loved one dies, those are accountability issues that we have to deal with. The membership don't like to deal with it until they have to deal with it. And
Say it, Pastor.
then they go on Facebook and talk about the church, that the church is there for them, but the pastor don't get to play the same games or whatever you want to call it with the members, like the members play. The members have 5 or 6 pastors. When they get in trouble, they can't call none of them. It sounds good in theory until you need something. I'm just gonna leave it like that.
Go ahead and drop that cash app real quick.
So I want to ask Kitty. So Kitty, you doing, and I've seen you doing the Power of Wealth on Facebook for a long time, just as I've been doing, my show, but I was doing it in the studio, right? So now it's like 150 other shows. Some are just by their personality, some are just by their talent. Has it been I want being shady, how has it been, for you? Do you feel like there's a competition? Do you feel like it's gonna fade out? Because you've been doing it online that long.
Yeah. I'm a firm believer of what your calling is what your calling is. And this is no shade too. People do things for trends. They do things because it makes other people make it look easy. Let me just say that. Like, so they see something, they say, oh, Kitty's doing it, let me do it, right? But they don't know the consistency factor behind doing anything. And that's the thing that's why it's purposely said, I've done over 300 interviews every week. I've done interviews when I've been sick. I've done interviews that I didn't feel like doing interviews, but I'm being obedient to my calling. And you know what you're calling when you start manifesting good things from it. I've gotten so many blessings from highlighting other people. I highlighted so many people. Eventually, I started getting blessed, and I didn't do it for that. I really didn't know why I was doing it. I just started doing it. And yes, since I've been look at it like this too, working in the cable industry for over almost 18 years, August. I look at my TV. If you have cable or direct TV, how many channels do you have, right? You got like 300-400 channels. That means you got 300 or 400 choices, right? When we go into the grocery store and you want a loaf of bread, how much bread do you have there?
That's right.
Right? You got your potato bread, you got your raisin bread, and guess what? As many choices that they have, especially when the pandemic came out, guess what? All of them were sold out, right? So there's something for everyone. And just like when I started doing makeup, there were a host of people that started doing makeup. And yes, since I'm on a spiritual platform, let's just say, yes, the flesh gets weak. Yes, we start getting jealous. Yes, we say, you know what? Why are they doing what I'm doing? Right? But God had to remind me what is mine, and who I'm here to serve. They will get served. So whether there's 45 people doing the same thing I'm doing, no one will ever be Kitty London, because he anointed me to do something and connect with different people. So no, I've gotten to a point where I am mature in that lane, and I welcome anybody to pick up a phone and attempt to do what I do and you do and whoever does it, because they will see once they start doing it, it ain't as easy as we make it look. And those people who are not in it to do or make a difference, they will fade out. You see it all the time. But if you're in it to win it and God has anointed you to do it, you're going to keep running. And that's what I say. So I welcome anybody to the challenge. Few are chosen, right? What is it? Many are called and few are chosen. So, hey, welcome to the team.
Absolutely. Thank you. Well, thank you guys so much. Dr. Lee, I know you have a show after this. She's been invited to a woman's platform, and they don't know that Dr. Lee is a powerhouse. She was real quiet tonight. I know her mind was thinking, I could tell when she raises her eyebrows. Sorry, Pastor, she can get you tonight.
I'll let the pastors have it tonight. It's all right.
They're gonna get it at 8 o'clock.
What is there anything that you like to add before you leave?
Say it again.
Is there anything you'd like to add before you leave?
Oh no, y'all handled it. I was just listening this evening.
And I want to thank everybody. Thank you for having me join this wonderful panel. I'm just honored. Thank you.
And I want, mhm, awesome. And you guys can see the video. I'll do it at the end. You can see the video. Now can't I breathe? I'm sorry. Now can't I breathe? It is on YouTube. If you put Kitty's name in, you should be able to find it. And also, I just wanted to say one thing, guys. We have been saying like, where are certain leaders? So we have been asking, where are certain leaders? So I found out, and I don't know if anybody know, that we have been asking, where is Louis Farrakhan? Actually, he's speaking on July the 4th on his own network, because of course he's banned from Facebook, Twitter, all major platforms have been. Is it okay? Because he's a black man, and I'll say that as just my last question, Dr. Lee, you can add on us being Christians. Um, Actually, I would like to hear from you. Is it okay as us as Christians that we're okay with listening to, I would say, Dr. Louis Farrakhan? What is your thought on that before we leave out?
All right. So here's the thing. I think that we sometimes can miss amazing blessings because they don't come in the packages we prefer. Just because he is of a different faith than, say, a Christian, does not mean that he does not have a wealth of knowledge that he could potentially share in this time of a pandemic and a protest. I am from Kentucky, where there are a numerous sayings, and one of them is "Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater." Another one is "Don't miss the forest for the trees." I don't have to agree with him fundamentally in that God has a son named Jesus in order for him to speak to what is going on today in America. And I think it says a lot that he has been banned, but there are other leaders who have made threats, who have affirmed supremacy groups, and have not been banned. So that tells you that in some way he is considered a threat. Now, who is he a threat to? Maybe to the very person that is still able to share his view on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter and threaten an entire group of people and it be seen as okay.
Okay, I get it. I get it. We read between the lines. I know you didn't want to go further than that because we don't want our Facebook hacked or anything like that either. Absolutely. But I want to thank you guys. Let me just go ahead. Kitty, if you want to stay on, that's fine. But let me go ahead and just put up for Pastor Javen, author Javen. Let us know how we can visit your church and where we can visit your church at.
Okay, again, everybody, thank you so much for this incredible dialogue. I really enjoyed it. Sometimes everybody knows this. Sometimes you have to do these things, and it's a pain to get through them, or you're waiting to get off. I will say I really, really enjoyed tonight. The book, Do It Now, Why Wait When Your Best Is Now, comes out this coming July the 12th, but it's now available at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Kindle, Nooks, wherever books are sold. It's an incredible read that will bless your life for both as a leader, as a college graduate, high school, trying to make a decision. I both talk about how to, but I also share with you how I. So it's both a memoir and a motivational book that I believe will bless your life. Now Church, we are still online right now. We're based in Hollywood, Florida. We meet at downtown at the Performing Arts Theater. We have an office space called the Now Center on Hollywood Boulevard, 4529. But right now, everything is online. And for Now Church, it's at Now Church FL for Florida, at Now Church FL. For me, everything is at JAVEN Online. You're more than welcome to say hey to me. People say, is that you? It is me. I answer my own social media. I say hey to everybody. I'm very down to earth. I really believe in inspiring and helping people along the way. Let me just say this final word to all of you in your own responsible places. Continue the great work. I can't stress it enough. Continue the great work. You know, we only have a short time on this side of heaven. And in that time, there's a lot of trouble, but there's a lot of purpose. So be blessed, be strengthened, be encouraged in your quiet times. Know that you're doing phenomenal. Know that the opportunity to feel bad and to feel less than is always there. That's just a reminder that you're still alive. That's all that means. So keep going. The best is now.
Absolutely. And are you still on? Are they still doing tapings for TBN or?
Yes. So I don't tape here anymore in South Florida. That studio has been closed. So I travel mostly to Dallas or to New York. The young lady was talking about Kitty was talking about doing all those shows. It made me think about, I have a show in London in Europe. So I travel to Europe twice a year, shooting 30 shows at a time, sometimes 40 shows within a week. So again, I echo what she said to those that are listening and those that are watching. You see people sometimes, and I'll say it the pastoral way. The anointing makes things look easy. So sometimes when you see people where they at, don't judge them. Don't judge people for their glory, because you really don't know their story. You don't know how hard people are working to get these jobs done. So we're just excited to just work, man. I was at the top of this. Since I'm talking, let me just go here right quick. I was at the top of this COVID-19 situation, and I was praying like how pastors be doing, like, God, give me a word. What is the word for the now season and all that kind of stuff? And I heard God just simply say to me, go to work. Okay? Go to work. Get up, go to work. Keep doing what you're doing. That's all that meant to me. And that's the word I leave with you. God says, go to work. I'm going to tell y'all, keep going to work. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Pastors don't been working more 3 months than they worked in 4 years. Yeah, that's a joke.
No, it ain't.
But it's true.
It's very
true.
But I do want to say,
because people,
I do want to echo Pastor A. I want to back the pastors up on here and just let the members know that without the members, there is no church.
Right.
Always think about that. The church is not the pastor. The church is the people. So if the people say, hey, I'm going to stay at home and watch 45 minutes, Tanisha, and that's it, that church is over. Ain't going to be no 45 minutes to watch, because that church going to close down. So just remember that. The people have the power, not the pastor.
Right.
All right, absolutely. Guys, I thank you guys, everyone, so much. Pastor David Rosa, you guys can visit him on his Facebook. Also, Pastor A, Pastor Javen, make sure you go over to his Facebook. Make sure you do a pre-sale to the book. I purchased it. Also, Dr. Teresha Lee, and also Kitty London. The name of the Facebook group, because I'm in it, I love the name. Tell us the name of it so the women, I guess it's only for women, can join. So Teresha maybe can mention it.
Well, no. A couple of men got in the group, so it's okay, as long as they behave. But it's called Black Girl Trending.
Black Girl Trending. Yeah, and it's a large group too. So Black Girl Trending, and I like that name. So maybe, maybe next year you'll be on the Essence, where they give those groups and names like that. So we're gonna just go ahead and put that out there. But I'm gonna go ahead and show her video. You guys can stay on the line and drop off the line. If you like Teresha, I know that the platform that you're about to be on starts at 8:30. We wish you luck. Make sure women who are listening now, you go over and listen to exactly what they're talking about. Power to the women. As I said last week, women, you should listen to women. Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah,
Guys, everybody should listen to women, because we always have something good to say.
absolutely.
All right. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna try to show this video, because this is my first time trying to share a screen. I don't normally do this Zoom stuff screen, but hopefully I do that. All right, guys. You guys enjoy yourself. Thank you so much.
All right.
Share. I'm trying right here, and it's good.
How do I tell my son they'll be okay? As a mother, how do I protect them when they leave the house? Are they gonna come back to me? We're crying, we're dying, we're tired. No arrest at their best, so just fire. We're with you right here, no we can't leave. No justice, no peace till you can't breathe. As a black mother, what do you tell your sons? They can kill you with their needs, they don't need guns. All they see is your black skin as red. They don't care how many degrees you about to get. All you see is in the news that we dying, either from disease peace. When all we see is rest in peace. How much more can my people take before we break? You've been forgiven, now you gotta pay for your mistakes. We'll be in charge when it's never a conviction. How y'all killing people but never get convicted, huh? We're crying, we're dying, we're tired. No rest at the best, it's just fire. We're with you right here, no we can't leave. No just, no peace.
Okay, so that didn't work, guys. So that means that I don't know how to share. So I'm just going to go ahead. If you guys can look up the YouTube for Kitty London, you should be able to actually see the video. And I want to thank you guys for joining us on tonight. All right, so guys, you guys have a great night and good night. Thanks, David.